Hey everybody, this is part 2 of a Zoom interview series with Kari, Volen. She's got 15 years of experience as a pageant coach across multiple systems. In this video, we're talking all about pageant styling, starting with a question that a commenter left about how to look age appropriate if you are between divisions.
Say someone who is smack dab in between teen and miss. I don't think it's as simple as saying, don't choose something low cut or a high slit. Like it's not that simple anymore, right? So how would you recommend or direct someone who is kind of struggling between not looking too sexy or too young?
One, you have to look at your age category. So if you're a teen in almost every pageant system except USA, I would not ever do a slit for a teen contestant. I just wouldn't. And I also look at color. I think that's important. You could have a dress in black and you could have the same dress in pink or teal, and you're automatically going to look more grown up wearing that black color or the dark, maybe white, or a darker color. And so I think it's finding the color. And then also I think there's certain styles, like typically for teens, you see a lot of the ball gown style still, and then also like the column style dress, which is like the fitted underskirt with the overskirt on top. And that can come in a variety of forms with like chiffon or like a stiffer taffeta. But that's definitely very teen and can also transition into miss. But I think you should also look at like where you are. Like if you're an older teen, I think, you don't need to, a lot of times people think, oh, you should try to dress yourself to look younger because you're a teen. And I think as a judge, let's say you're a teenager, you're a teen contestant, but you just turned 18 and you're, on the verge of aging up to miss. I think, what I would put someone in who's 18 versus maybe a 14-year-old teen is going to be very different again. So you want age appropriate within your division as well. And then looking at that system and what works, because there's certain pageant systems, for example, National American Miss, a lot of Miss still wear ball gowns, still wear the column dresses, and typically in NAM you don't see a lot of slits, and if you do, they're below the knee. So I think that's also something to consider. But I think color has a huge part of helping something to become more age appropriate. In addition to what you mentioned, being low cut, sheer, those types of things.
How would a teen go about choosing an evening gown or a miss? Like what's the process like? Where do you start?
Number one, at the end of the day, is looking at what flatters their body most. And so obviously, let's say you're competing in a pageant system that loves the column dress, the fitted dress with the overskirt, but that's not flattering on your body. At the end of the day, a judge is going to look at your overall appearance and poise in that gown. So it needs to be something that not only do you look good in, but that you feel confident in. Because if you're self-conscious or not feeling great in what you're wearing, obviously that's going to come across. I would look at kind of past styles of what has been done in that system or what's common, and not to say that you have to copy that, but at least to give you some direction. So, for example, in the USA system, you could definitely have a slit if you were a teen, where in other pageant systems, like I mentioned, National American Miss, you probably wouldn't want to do that. So I think a huge part is just knowing your system and knowing kind of what the norm is for each, and then choosing something that matches your personality and the vibe that you want to go for. And then I think looking at your budget, obviously if you have an unlimited budget or you have more money, you might look into having something custom made or working with different designers or getting something couture, where if you have a more simple budget or a little bit lower budget, you might be looking on Poshmark or pageant resale sites, or finding something maybe at a prom store that you can maybe customize to make it look more couture.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Now let's talk styling.
Yeah.
What are some like colors or cuts that you think are in or that you would recommend for the main areas of competition? Let's just to keep it kind of segmented and to not confuse you or to inundate you. Let's start with colors or cuts for, let's say, interview for teen.
So for teen, I still really like a good peplum. I think that hasn't really gone out of style, but I would say the biggest trend right now is jumpsuits. You see a lot of jumpsuits in interview, which kind of used to be a little more risque in certain systems, but now is very commonplace. And I love, anyone who knows me knows I love statement shoes and earrings with that. So most people assume that you have to wear the nude shoes for interview. That's kind of an old school pageant thing. So for me, like if you were going to wear a hot pink jumpsuit as a teen, I might suggest like a bright yellow shoe and matching earring, or like a floral shoe and then tie in a fun casual earring, nothing like stoned or gemmed. So for me, that's kind of what I see as trends in interview. But again, it's about what fits your body. But I do love peplums and jumpsuits.
Love it. Now, what about for Miss contestants?
I mean, I think a lot of these styles are transferable and aren't necessarily limited to age. But I would say a trend the past year or so, a lot of these national pageants have gotten postponed, so it's yet to be seen if this trend will continue into the season. But was kind of that blazer look, especially in the USA system and America, like the blazer dresses, but very fashion forward. I always think of blazers as looking like, very matronly, but very trendy and on point right now is kind of that look.
All right. What are some colors and cuts that you prefer for evening gown for teens? What have you seen?
Honestly, I think that there's so much you can do with colors. A lot of people think that you have to wear white to win. And I think that's just kind of a statistical thing. A lot of people wear white, and so you have a higher chance that the winner is going to be in white. I think, there's not a certain color that I could say works for everyone. I love yellow. I love hot pink, but some people look much better in pastels. To me, I would say the most common colors, and not that that's good or bad to avoid or go with, would be like a royal blue and a red, I think are the most common.
Got it. Would you say the same thing for evening gown in Miss as well?
Miss, I would say, again, it depends on the system. Obviously, black is a color that I would never recommend for anybody younger than a Miss. So as a Miss or a Ms. or a Mrs. contestant, black is a very popular color. But yeah, I think you could still have a Miss wearing pink or yellow or turquoise or a pastel color, depending on the pageant and the style and cut of the dress.
Nice. Now, I'd say for Miss, the evening gowns, there's more variation in terms of what people have been seen in. I'd say teens tend to be a little bit safer. But Miss, what are some trends that you've seen? What is the peplum equivalent that we've seen in an interview, but on stage for Miss evening gowns that you've seen or noticed or liked or even disliked?
I think, again, it varies on system, but I would say one thing that I've noticed is that things are becoming more simplified and more about the fit, kind of more of that red carpet feel. So in some systems, the fully, rhinestone, Sherry Hill couture gowns are still very popular, but I think more than anything, we're seeing a shift towards just the fit and the girl wearing the dress and not the dress wearing the girl, which I kind of like. And so I think it's finding that right fabric, because there's a lot of fabrics that flow better on stage than others. And one of my favorites was actually Miss Utah USA, who is a friend. Austin Ride is a hair and makeup artist. Amanda is his girlfriend, and she was Miss Utah USA last year. And she wore this beautiful gown at Miss USA. It was a simple white dress with this cool beaded shoulder. And other than that, it was extremely simple, but really elegant. And I love that.
Obviously, jersey, I think, is still really in. What are some other fabrics that you've seen maybe Miss go with versus teen and vice versa?
So I'm going to jump back to interview, and I love me some scuba for interview. Scuba is like the most flattering fabric on everybody, and I just love how there's certain fabrics that look more wrinkly on stage, and no matter how much you steam them, it's hard to get that crisp look, and scuba just looks great in my opinion. But for evening gown, again, I think it depends on the system, but I love flowy silks and chiffons, and I think when it comes to especially having a more simple gown, you want that flow where when you walk on stage, the fabric just lays perfectly and gets some air itself as you're walking, so it's very angelic looking. So those would be some of my favorite fabrics.
Let's do swim really quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, swim for, I don't know if there are any competitions that in which teens do swim?
The only one that I know where teens do swimsuit would be United States, Miss Teen United States.
And what types of colors or cuts for swimwear would you recommend someone who's competing in Teen United States?
I think white, pink, pastels, bright colors, neon colors. I mean, really, I don't think in terms of swimsuit, I don't think color necessarily, there's like a teen color versus a miss color. I think it's finding the colors that look best with your skin tone. For example, like when I tan, I get like red and pinky and orange. So I probably wouldn't wear a red or pink swimsuit or something with those undertones because that's not going to make me look the best. I might do like a turquoise or something really, a lime, something that's going to look really good with my skin. So there's so many variations. And I think it kind of depends like on your personality too. Like white, you can never go wrong with a white swimsuit for either age division, but it's really hard to pull off white. So you have to make sure you have like a seamless body. Same with black. Black swimsuit looks great, but for me, I've always liked to use colors that kind of show off my personality. So, I'm more of that lime girl.
Nice, nice. Now, what about cuts or two-piece versus one-piece? I mean, one-piece or monokinis.
Mm-hmm. I don't like monokinis. I think that even for people who have great bodies, I think they typically cut people off in really awkward places. And I'm not a fan of prints, although it seems like a lot of the sponsored swimsuits that have been used in, past seasons of Miss USA have prints or even Miss America when they still had swimsuit. I think a good high cut swimsuit cut up high on the side obviously helps lengthen your legs. And I prefer either the bra top or halter style. I think the halter style kind of pushes everything in a little bit more and gives you a little bit more, vavoom in the bust area. In terms of one piece versus two piece, I think that it's definitely, you're not going to get more points for wearing a two piece if you should wear a one piece. And so I think it's really about knowing your body and what's most flattering and what you're going to feel most comfortable to be able to rock. But swimsuit styles in pageants really haven't changed over the past probably like 15 years, honestly.
That's true. Yeah, I think I've seen a picture of you actually in swimsuit from Miss California, and it's like the same style. It's just very like it's bright, it's classic.
And one thing I will say that maybe is a little bit different, but I think has probably been around for like the past 10 years. I'm sure. I think you had this at Miss America, but like hardware is kind of in on swimsuits, so you might have a couple like rings, not so much rhinestones. I think that's kind of old school. Like when I was competing, that used to be like the cool thing to like rhinestone your swimsuit, and now that looks like very pageanty. So I would definitely, do something simple, no like pageant earrings, just like a hoop, and very low key in terms of the bling, unless you have some hardware on like the hip of your swimsuit or, on your strap of your swimsuit.
It's so interesting because I think there's obviously style in general, like in the real world, that's changing. And then there's style within pageants that kind of shifts and evolves. Like we went from like the St. John's knits era, remember, all the way, and then the rhinestone swimsuits, and like slowly moving into grommets and like metallic accents. Would you say as a whole that, pageant obviously depends on system still, but as a whole that pageants are starting to move more towards red carpet / mainstream / like less of a pageanty look, or would that not be accurate?
I mean, I would say a little, but there's definitely still a pageant look. And I think that taking too many risks or being too fashion forward, like, being the first one to do something is always a risk, and it can go well, or it cannot be received well. And I think, obviously once someone wins, maybe wearing something that was a little bit more of a risk, then the next year you see other people following that, and then that becomes a trend. But I would say we're definitely behind the times in terms of, where the fashion industry is at. I would say the pageant industry is still like a few years behind, because like the blazer look became popular like 3 years ago. And I feel like just last year that kind of picked up for pageants. So yeah, I would say there's still definitely a lag between the real world of fashion and what's fashionable in pageants. And, for me, like I think the biggest area of struggle to be fashion forward would be the fun fashion competition, because there's only so many things you can do, right? Fun fashion for me is all about having some type of material that flows well or that you can play with, because just to see you, walk on stage and model without kind of using your outfit to help you with your modeling, I don't particularly like, although there's been people who've definitely won without having an overskirt or a cape or a fringe outfit. But I think there you see a lot less creativity and a lot of the same. In terms of fun fashion, I think it's harder to be innovative. And when someone is, that definitely usually pays off well.
What systems have a fun fashion
Gosh,
competition?
almost all of them. So junior high, high school, collegiate calls it Fashion Runway, but it's fun fashion. USA National Miss, National American Miss, it's not one of the required competitions, but they do have a runway competition where you wear a similar outfit. International Junior Miss has fun fashion. Oh, Royal International Miss has it. USA National Miss has it. And USA Ambassador Pageant has it. And the International Pageant System has it. So yeah, like all of them except Miss America, Miss USA, and then I guess NAM and American Co-Ed and United States.
What have been some of your favorite pageant outfits?
Well, I love fringe on stage. So I think any fringe fun fashion to me is always fun because you just look so awesome when you're modeling and you just see that movement. I would say Miss Universe, the reigning Miss Universe, her evening gown when she walked out was just to die for. And then I just think it fits so much her like persona with her hairstyling and just showed off her amazing body. But gosh, I mean, I see so much wardrobe. I can't honestly think of something. A lot of it starts to blend in. There's a lot of, Sherry Hill Coutures that are absolutely beautiful, but they kind of start to look the same. So besides Miss Utah USA and Miss Universe, those are the two that pop in my head.
Are there any like pageant no-nos that obviously the experienced contestants know, but like a very new client who has no clue, like generally would like a faux pas that this person would make?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it can be prevented by doing your research, but I would say like suits, and not like the blazer look, but like actual traditional interview suits that used to be really popular both in the Miss America system and in systems like National American Miss. And you still see that a little bit in the younger divisions for NAM, but I think the suit is like way out. I think too, just styling, a lot of systems say, well, you can use your prom dress. You don't have to spend a lot of money, which I agree. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but sometimes a prom dress and a pageant dress are very different. Like for me, prom dresses these days, a lot of them have like the really thin corset ties, but they don't have anything covered in the back. So it's like open back with just really thin ties. And I've been seeing that a lot lately of girls wanting to transition those over to pageants. And I'm personally not a big fan of that. And then I think just like a lot of it is styling. If you look the part, I think that helps you, be taken as a serious competitor. If you show up and you look like you know what you're doing, even if you don't, I think you already kind of have that leg up. So those would be kind of the two things I would say. And then hair and makeup styling. I know not everyone can afford to have like a professional hair and makeup artist, but I think that's probably one of the most overlooked elements of competition, is that people think, oh, I know how to do my hair and makeup. But pageant, like stage hair and makeup is much different than like, just doing a good job on your makeup for everyday life. And so I definitely think even if you can't afford someone to do it every day of competition, I would definitely consider hiring someone to do a hair and makeup lesson with you to help teach you how to do it for stage. Because there's so much with like contouring and stuff with lighting to make yourself look as good as possible. And I think sometimes girls will spend, so much money on a beautiful gown and then the rest of their styling isn't on point with that. And so I would definitely invest in good hair and makeup.
Well, thanks for joining us today. This is how you can reach Kari.
You can reach me on Instagram at Pageant Coaching and Designs or on my website at pageantcoachinganddesigns.org.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I'll see you at my next video. Bye.